When The Golden Bachelor was filming, star Gerry Turner discovered his celebrity doppelganger. Then, unknown to the world, months before the Golden Era Bachelor spinoff would premiere to record ratings for the ABC franchise, the 72-year-old retired widower was filming one of his hometown dates at the New Jersey shore. People started gathering, noticing the cameras, and executive producer Jason Ehrlich recalls that everyone was freaking out. A woman was like, "Look, it's Will Ferrell." Now, Gerry see the result of that date aired November 2nd, as Gerry headed to the hometowns of his final three women: Faith, Theresa, the NJ native, and Leslie. The Women Tell All reunion, highly anticipated fantasy suites dates and tower finale will follow in the weeks to come. And things have changed for the now very recognizable star of the long-running reality dating franchise, which has seen renewed life thanks to the hopeful senior spinoff that follows Gerry on his second search for true love among 22 age-appropriate women. Gerry, of Indiana, was married 43 years to his high school sweetheart, Tony, who died suddenly after falling ill from a bacterial infection in 2017. He has 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters, the women who were ultimately responsible for Gerry landing the ABC gig when they convinced him to apply years ago. When the Warner Brothers series finally began casting the long-gestating spinoff in 2019, they called Gerry, years after he applied, to ask if he was interested. The call was initially a Zoom, and it did take him a while to get on screen, because he doesn't have a laptop with a camera and he couldn't figure that out at first, recalls Ehrlich in the below chat with The Hollywood Reporter, where he's joined by fellow executive producers Claire Freeland and Bennett Grebner. Among thousands of submissions, Gerry's tape had stood out. It was really hard to beat him. That's Freeland. It's very easy to say yes to Gerry. He's so deserving. He's like America's dad. Below, the 3 EPs take THR through the casting process to find their star, share how the women infused life into the show, and look ahead to continuing the series. Will there be a golden paradise? Read on below. And even go to the pharmacy without people taking his photo. A Golden Era Bachelor series was in the works for years, nearly a decade. What was the impetus that finally got you back to the table to do this? Bennett Grebner. This is certainly an idea that's been kicked around for at least a decade. It's the one idea that comes up when I'm talking to moms and dads at my son's school. They will often say, "What about a bachelor for older people?" So, it is the one thing that's kind of been in the ether forever. And it was in 2019, I believe, that we really decided to pursue it in earnest, but because of the pandemic we had to push pause. And then we came back to it last year, and I think, Jay, maybe you're the best to speak to why we came back to it and our guy Gerry. Jason Ehrlich. I think the 3 of us took leadership of the franchise at the beginning of this year, and one of the initiatives was that we have this project of. It actually wasn't even called The Golden Bachelor at the time. What was the show called? Ehrlich. Laughs. It didn't really have a title. Actually, there was a lot of conversations about it. We had been casting for it for a while. And so I think we decided together, now is the time. COVID is over, let's get this going. We brought in Jackie Pittman to start casting, and she actually went through the files of people who had submitted over the years. There were thousands of files, and she submitted those. It was within the first week that the network wanted to see, what do we have? What's in there? Show us somebody. So we went through, and we found this small batch of gentlemen, and Gerry was in that batch. And honestly, once we saw that tape with Gerry, it was really hard to beat him. Gerry had submitted himself a few years prior. He was watching the show with his daughters. They were fans of the show. He was a fan of the show. They said, "Oh, you should sign up." And he kind of brushed it off, and later that night they called him, and he said, "What have I got to lose here? Why not?" Then it was years later when we started this new casting initiative that they went through the files, they found Gerry, and they really fell in love with him. And once we had Gerry, Jackie really refocused to find the women. It was then that she put the flyer together, and it was like, what are we going to call this show? And that's when the Golden Bachelor title came up, and we really started casting for women. And I will say, Gerry is amazing. He's an unbelievable find. But it was the marriage of Gerry and these incredible women who we saw in casting that really gave life to the show.